Miss Nelson with the Kansas City Business Association. And tonight I'd like to introduce what I would say one of the queens of buy Black business, supporting Black business, understanding the economics of Black business. I would like to think that she's one of my personal friends, head of the Artline Agency, Miss Barbara Jenkins. How you doing tonight, Barbara?
I'm doing well, Carlos. Doing well.
All right. Hey, Barbara, I want to have a little discussion with you. First of all, I want you to give our audience a little bit of history, why you one of the grand dames of Black business here in Kansas City, for sure.
Okay, I don't know if I would call myself that.
That's you. I'm calling. Miss Nelson's calling you. I don't care what them other people talking about. They're not talking about nothing. I seen you grow your business, and you young people, you need to pay attention to this. Go, Barb. Hey, Barbara, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, when you started Artline Agency, and what that climate was like. And then I want you to talk about uh, the Black community, how the Black community, uh, I like using Black community or either the diaspora, far as how you was able to market to our community and some of the trials and tribulations that you have faced as a, a Black businesswoman here locally in Kansas City.
I'll share a little bit because that would take all day for me to explain all this. But I come from, especially as I say, humble beginnings. I'm still humble, and as I tell everybody, you know, through the grace of God, you're going to deal with alligators. I call it alligators every day. Problems that you incur, but you got to have enough faith and belief in who you are. So I started, actually, it was by accident because I was a job counselor at 18th and Prospect years ago. And the company shut down and moved to Chicago. My husband at that time, William Haynes, he was also an animated artist. He passed 22 years ago. So because he was an artist and he could do layout and all that, that's how we got started. We got started because at that time I was involved with modeling through Miss Josette. I was also Miss Josette Golden Girl. And
Talk
I'm
about
a person.
that.
Yeah.
Who's
I'm a person. Yeah. I'm a person who, my husband now, who is Willie Jenkins, we went to a business event. And they said it was a couples event. They asked you to describe your spouse. And my husband described me as the number one word he said is my middle name, persistent. So I'm a very persistent person. I'm not overbearing, but I'm persistent. I might have some things that knock me down, and then I'm going to get back up after I go take an aspirin or whatever and get some sleep and rest, and then I get back up again. So you have to be undefeated. You have to be a person who can see, as I say, see the forest. You can see the forest beyond the trees. You have to be a person who has belief in yourself. And I'm a person who believes in God. So he tells me that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So that's what carries me through.
So I'm saying, when you were building the company, I had the pizza restaurant on 27th
and Prospect, right?
And you came through. I want you to talk about how hard it was for you to do business. And then the next thing I know, I was down in Carl Bussey's office and I see this big calendar. And then when I get to flipping it, I see all these Black businesses. And I believe in talking straight in our community. And boy, if you can sell Black business on some advertisement, you good.
This is brought to you by Willard's Book and Vinyls.
You real good.
Well, the husband at that time, that William Haynes that passed, he used to say to me all the time, Barb Haynes, you can sell shades to a blind man. And you never know what your talent is. I didn't enjoy doing that at all. That is not what I wanted to do. But there have been always situations that I have encountered where it took me to get it across. And sometimes people have to understand, sometimes it's your personality that allows you to do that. So I guess I was the softer side that could get it done. And a lot of times, and this is just another thing where I'm not trying to preach to people, but while I'm asleep, God would give me the ideas to do. And it would be revealed to me. Like when we used to do a 30-minute TV show on KCBA 5, it was called Images in Fashion. I didn't just come up, it was fed to me in my sleep to do that. And I ended up going to all the TV stations and none of them accepted my proposal except for KCBA 5. And we did that. And we used to feature people like Ray Goodman and Brown, Alita Adams, Najee on the 30-minute TV show and feature fashion at the end of the program. Now we're going to be doing that again, but at that time,
hopefully you'll be doing that on our network.
At that time, we'll see what we'll talk, Carlos. At that time, television was so expensive. That's why we ended up transforming the format to a calendar, because I had to survive. And let me tell you this, I had to survive being Black because that's who I am. And the other ethnic groups would not support us. Even though I went to them, they would not acknowledge. And today, even today in 2021, you still have some of that behavior when you go to them. But when I deal with some of the corporations and they say, well, we don't normally, that's not our traditional mode of advertising. They have this quintessential focus of how things should be. Everything is not in their format. If you want Black dollars, you got to also do some things that reflect Black people. It can't be just everything that you do. I know when I'm watching television, I'm watching Hallmark, Hallmark channel. Most of the series is basically white folks on the movies, but they forget about us when they're showing and displaying things. It's almost as if we weren't available or in history at all. Sometimes when you look at some things. So I have gone through, as you said, the fire. I call it alligators, but I have gone through a number of different things. That's why I tell people most of the time when I'm talking, never judge a man by what you think they should have, could have, would have done, because you're not in their shoes. You never know what another person has to deal with.
I'm cutting you off, Mother. I'm cutting you off right there, because we do that so much in our community, and you don't have the big picture. And if you had the big picture of some of the things that I can say that I go through, and you're a business person that you go through, y'all would back up, make a U-turn real quick.
Right.
And so stop judging individuals. I had to do that. I'm pointing fingers are pointing back at me.
Right.
I had to learn, because I'm a critic, that we all Black and we all going in the same direction, and we all have different ways of going at it. And we cannot let the indoctrination that we have been indoctrinated through programming. That's what we're involved in at Cascade Media. You're being programmed, but we need to break that programming to understand that everybody has differences, but us as a race, we have to know that we're in the same boat, and we have to stop sniping at one another. I'm not saying questioning one another, but I'm saying sniping. I think there's a difference between having a conversation about accountability and sniping.
Well, I'm a person like this. If I can't say something good about you, I don't say anything at all. I don't think it's our place to come up and always be negatively commenting to that person about what they're doing. Now it's a little different if you're in a restaurant and you see that their waitresses are wearing house shoes and that kind of thing. You may not go there, but to go and try to demean them is another thing. You know, you have to have a more subtle approach. You don't go and tell everybody that's sitting at the station. I'm gonna give you an example. I went to a restaurant one time and a friend of mine was doing something there at the restaurant, and the restaurant was short of help. And even though it was an event that was catered by her, she was also informing her guests about the service. Now, that's a domino effect, because it don't take long for everybody at the table, especially women, to start complaining. Instead, which I would have done, would have gotten up and gone to the manager and explained to them what my upset, why I was upset. So it wouldn't have been an explosive situation.
But do you know what? Cutting you off a little bit, I cut my guests off all the time, because
Okay.
you're in business and you understand that. When I used to have my construction company and I would do my, I'm not going to spill no bread or salt,
Right.
but Black people that I knew, when Black contractors did work for them, if the Black contractor made any type of mistake or didn't come on a day, it was always some record. The same people, I'm telling you, personal experience. Then this is, years you see these things. The same people, now they having some more work, they hire a white contractor. The white contractor take off and come, he got an emergency or something. Nothing is said by the Black person, but the Black contractor do the same thing, and then it's a whole lot of muckety muck. And that goes across the board from my 69 years in business. And I take the same approach as you, Barbara. When I'm dissatisfied, unless it's a real bad situation, I'm either going to whisper in their ear, or I'm going to ask who the manager is, and then I'm going to take them to the side like you, especially if it's a Black place.
Right. I have heard people, and I'm telling you this honestly, there is not a business that I don't hear somebody say something negative about. So that means that people are critical. And with the phase of social media now, you can't go by what people say, because they're going to always be upset about something. In this business that I'm in, you have to have a backbone. You really have to have a backbone, because people will say negative things about me. They will twist things that I didn't say. I've had people say that I owned a store. I don't own a store. I mean, I've had all kinds of different things that have happened, but I know what the discussion is, and that people might not understand why I go around and see each business in reference to their advertisement. That's simply because there's no loophole when I talk to you, because you and I both know what we discussed. I give everybody a contract, so there can't be any
any obfuscation.
Right.
You and myself are like, see, I think text is designed, I'm gonna be late. Something's wrong. All of this business no, call me so that we're real clear.
I'd rather have the phone call than all this texting back and forth.
And it has nothing to do with my knowledge or your knowledge.
A lot of ways.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my knowledge or your knowledge about communicating electronically. It has to do with business and clarity. And you cannot get no damn clarity going back and forth in the email or a text. So when you have these conversations, keyword, what I said, I know what you said. And now if that's broken, then I know what kind of person you are. I know that if I continue to do business with you, I know I have to watch what you say.
Yeah.
I mean, watch what you do versus watch what you say.
Right. Well, and that's been my focus in the community. One thing I do always is I try to give more than what the clients give me. Some of them don't even notice sometimes if I've ever given them an extra ad in the calendar. And the calendar is not the only thing that we do. As I said, we did the Images and Fashion TV show. In the past, we did of models. We do fashion shows at various events. We've done business networks at different times of the year. So there's a number of different collaborative things that I do, as well as working with various nonprofit organizations like True Life Family Resource Center. I was on the board at one time with that particular organization, or serving different things at my church. So I try to give as much as I can.
You at? Give them a plug.
Palestine Missionary Baptist Church of Jesus Christ on 35th Street, 3619 East 35th Street.
All right, over there where Reverend Abel was.
Yeah, and now it's Pastor James Watkins.
Yeah, that's who the pastor is now, but you know,
yes. He's doing a wonderful job, yes.
And that's great, but all is great. I know Abel, I know he was making it happen over there. He made, between him and Maxwell, they was making it happen in the community, even on the development side. And that's, you know, great church, good plug. Hey, now I want to hit where the rubber meets the road. I want to ask you from a business standpoint, do you think our national leadership and our local leadership have served us well? We're not going to talk about the community, because this is the business show. From a business standpoint, making access to capital easier for us from a city, state, and governmental standpoint. Other thing I want you to segue into is, what's your opinion about MBE? Because my opinion is, why we got to be MBE. White people don't have to show that they white. And I feel after trying to go through the process is so difficult. It's another stumbling block. What you have to say, Barbara?
I don't know totally, Carlos. The only thing I would have to say is that I can speak on this. I remember when affirmative action was in place. Affirmative action was very much needed, because way back, I think it was the late 70s.
60s and 70s.
Yeah, 70s. We could submit a proposal, and if I met someone, say for example, that usually had to be somebody that was either Black or somebody in the corporate arena, corporate America, that wanted to get the attention of the African American market, so they would participate. Now you get where they don't necessarily have to. The only thing that's changing right now is because of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter has awakened the country to the neglect of the African American community. So there's going to be some softening in some areas, and if we don't consistently approach it to where we want to see a difference, it will fade away. So
how important do you think it is to have a network like Cascade Media Group, that's a Black-owned network, 100% debt-free, and do the things that we do? And as I talk about all the time, and we don't get the financial support from our even traditional organizations. And it's not being negative. Is, as I say, we have to talk truth to power. And when I look at Leon's Supermarket, is like the poster child for me, and I use it all the time, that we have 170,000 Black people or people of African descent here in the metro area.
This is brought to you by Africana Art.
What does that say about our social construct and our ability to process what's good and what's important for our community? I'm gonna go on a little further, Barbara. So I use that as a poster child. And then when I bring that back to different people in the Black community, you know, that I talk to, I'm always bringing that up. And then I bring up, how could that business go out of business and they have 170,000 Blacks? I have to look at myself. I'm fortunate, at least, but way short of the mark. I shopped there at least 50 or 60 times. But what is that when you've been in the damn city 30 years almost? And when I talk to the people, the first thing, well, I came in there and I smelled something,
Right.
or hold it, or I came, oh, he might have didn't manage and this and that. And because I'm woke, what I say to them, if all of us was shopping there, it might have been 8 Leon supermarkets.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing I have said. That's my argument exactly. Mr. Stapleton was a very giving, supportive person. And of course, I was saddened by the fact that they closed. But even though I live in a totally different area, I always came back to Leon's to get certain things. You don't necessarily have to, say, for example, if you have something against maybe the meat or whatever, get canned goods. You can always buy tissue, you can buy, but I came back and bought whatever I could buy from him. And that's what we have to understand, because his conditions could be better if, say, for example, if he had 500 customers a day or 1,000 customers a day, like Walmart would have. Walmart probably has somewhere like 10,000 a day. So you see what I'm saying?
Well, hold it, but that was the point when I cut you off earlier about the construction, that how we look at things, and most of us have been educated and we look at things to a Eurocentric point of view, and the white man's ice is colder and the sugar is sweeter. And so when we're using our economic dollars, we're not using them, to me, to our advantage. And that's where I feel leadership comes into focus. That,
well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, part of that is integration. You know, the fact that we can go and do whatever we want to do, that's the problem. And when you're not conditioned, because all of, say, your parents, my parents, they're gone now. So they understood what being
Black
being
was
together,
really being Black. No
right.
Drinking at the white water fountain.
Right. They understood
no going
that.
to the bathroom over there.
And what you do and how you were taught is another thing. My children have been taught to pay attention to things. You know what I'm saying? Whereas in some households, you're not taught that. You're not taught, now that you have freedoms, you don't,
but my thing is, I don't blame them, Barbara, because we have been programmed since we came out. It's like when I talk to my family, love my family, and you talk to them, hey, Christmas is all right, but that is a pagan holiday. And even if it wasn't a pagan holiday, it's not your holiday. Kwanzaa is your holiday in this area that comes from your homeland. And why would you perpetuate that? They want to get mad at me.
Well, let me just say this, Carlos. I'm not about keeping anybody from recognizing whatever format they want to recognize. I'm just about make sure you don't forget your own.
That's where I'm at too.
Just make sure you don't forget your own. You can do everything else you want to do, because, like I said, the baby boomers, my children, and now my children's children, they have not been exposed to the racial things that you and I have. So, trying to get people to say, okay, let's go back and not do any of that, that's going to be really hard. Trying to tell women.
But you know what, Barbara, what you just said, I've had that conversation with a dozen or more people just this week. And what I have found, that the majority, and people can say I'm not telling the truth or they know something different. The majority of Black people look at our situation and they really see that it's so bad, especially the ones that's educated, they don't even want to fool with it. They don't want to try to correct it. They rather, I'm in this situation. I'm out here. I better worry about me and mine, because if I don't take care of that and get involved in a movement or something, I won't be able to earn a living. What I'd like to say to you in closing, what would you have to say to our community about upcoming holiday one, and what would you have to say to young Black women specifically about business, and then what you had to say in just closing, Barbara Jenkins Haynes. Barbara Haynes.
Okay, Barbara Haynes Jenkins, yeah.
Get me together. I'm the nutty professor.
You said so much, Carlos. I gotta try to retract on what you said,
All
but
right. Give the girl, the Black women that wanna get and be entrepreneurs and live their dream out.
Well, just realize that the best laid plan can fail. So just because something doesn't go right one time doesn't mean that you're a failure, is what I'm saying. I've had plenty of times where I have worked endlessly to get something done and not as many people showed up, but that didn't mean I didn't give it my all. I did, went out here and did whatever. I had an event where a lot of the business owners paid for their ticket, but they didn't even show up. I mean, they came, some of them, but not all of them. So I'm saying a lot of times we have business owners that they are exhausted from working. And it's sad to say that, but sometimes they don't even try to promote their own businesses when the door is open for them to do that. It's almost like you got to pull teeth and make them come and do something for themselves. So as long as I know that I've given my all, that's what you have to do. You have to work on trying to make sure that you get yourself out there as in many formats, not just one. That's the problem with a lot of business owners too. Well, they'll say, I advertise in this format. Well, you need to do as many as you can. Or some of them will say, I do word of mouth. Word of mouth is, you better have a lot of word of mouth if you think that just word of mouth every month is going to carry your restaurant. You have got to really put yourself out here. I do everything. If most people say, I see you everywhere. That's right. They see me at an event. They see me promoting the calendar. They see me passing out flyers. I'm everywhere so that people will always get to know who I am or what my business is about. I try to, as I said, you can't tell everybody about what your business is about. And when I say that, how you did your business, you understand what I'm saying? People always want to know for you to give them information about the hard work you've done.
Consulting, really, most of them be trying to pick your brain.
Yeah, pick your brain, and you can't give out information. In other words, so that it'll make it clear for other people who don't know that, I'm giving you the secrets of who I am. So in other words, you're going to be competing. I'm going to be competing against myself.
Right. Hey,
I will support anybody, say, for example, if they're doing something and they have an event and I buy a ticket, or if I can buy an ad, if I can. I'm not wealthy, so I can't buy from everybody. That's the other thing. And then our people need to understand too, because you did business with me, I can't do business with you. You know what I'm saying? It can't be tit for tat all the time. You know, if I have it, and if it's something that I can work with, fine. There will be times that, say, for example, you did business with me, I can refer somebody that needs your service. That doesn't mean I have to specifically do business with you.
But that's what I was saying earlier about us understanding business.
Right.
A lot of times, the people that do business with me, I might give them, they might spend $300 or $500 with me, and I wind up giving them $4,000 worth of advertisement or what have you, when I don't have an advertisement and what have you. But
well, I have, for example, I have a lawn guy, I might have a heating and cooling guy come to my house. I don't care if they advertise in the calendar or not. If they bring it up, I'm more than happy for them to do that. But it's not a tit for tat thing just because I'm giving them money, they got to advertise in the calendar. No. And I want to say this too. This is a slogan that Artline came up with. We came up with Black Americans contribute billions toward the economic growth of this country. Yet within our own community, many businesses die. Economic power can make a difference. So the money that you have can make a difference in your life and in your community.
That's a good closing statement. Queen, Rondom, I don't care what you're talking about. I'm saying, hey, Barbara, it take a strong Black woman to deal with you had to deal with. You know what you said? Really took me back. You said your mama, your granddaddy, they all dead, and they knew what was up for real.
Yeah.
And waking our community to what's up. I think we still have a lot of strong women, but I don't know whether they are all dedicated to our community, as why I label you the queen. And I got another queen, and she's white, that Peggy Tennyson, when I was on my butt, she gave me her van, and she sells fundraising things. And I brought her into the Black community, and she's done a lot of different things. And it's audience, I'm Black Power Ungawa, but there's only one race, it's a human race. And all white people are not bad, and all Black people are not bad.
Well, throughout history, it's been shown that we wouldn't be ahead at all if it weren't for some of the whites who hid us when slave masters were after us. That's just like me in television. If it hadn't been for that one who was actually, his nationality was German, that allowed me to do television, I wouldn't be doing television to this day.
All right.
But he opened the door.
And that's why not jumping to any conclusions, because a lot of people with me, man, Carlos, you taking the whole company, you turning everything Black. I'm like, I always been Black. I just wasn't going as hard as I needed to go. I have to wake my community up. So I have no room for middle of the road type advertisement or middle of the road type conversations. What are you doing for Black people? That's all I want to know, because we have a platform. The white press, they'll ask what you're doing for Black people, but then the next day they'll be saying what you're doing for lesbians, what you're doing for this, and I'm not against any of that.
Right. It's just you're trying to have your own format.
Right. And I want our community to understand that's what this conversation is about with Barbara. We have to look at economic power is the main power. It's like gasoline in the car. And if we have the car, if we spend our money, and as Barbara said, you don't have to spend every dime with a Black person, but say I'm making $1,200 a week or $1,000 a week or $500, I'm gonna spend 10% with Black business. Or do you have anything to add to that, Barbara?
Well, I was just saying some of them, some of our people don't program themselves throughout the month to service Black-owned businesses. And that's another thing that I try to, when I speak, talking to predominantly white audiences, I ask how many of you spend your money with a Black-owned business, within a week, within a month. Some of them really within a month have never done anything with a Black-owned business. And you got to look at what suppliers do you have that are Black-owned. And I've always said, if I ever became wealthy, that would be the main thing. If I'm spending my money on furniture, whatever, I'm going to ask them, who are your Black suppliers? Because that's how we keep our people employed. If we don't start asking those questions and we just shell out money to everybody, they could care less what happens to our community.
I'm gonna close on that, because that's a whole nother subject, and that's the subject that I would not have you tangled up into. But me, Carlos Nelson, I'm gonna be the tip of the spear, and you politicians, you the ones that's supposed to be making that right. And I'm telling you, here in Kansas City, whether you listening or not, I know my audience is listening. You got Highland Dairy, you got all these different companies delivering products to your school district, which is primarily a Black district or district of color, and there's a lot of things going to these companies, and we don't know what they're giving back to the community. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. The county legislatures, the school board members, the city council members, the Congress and the senators from this area, you're supposed to be, if you're representing 64127, 28, 29, 30, 31, you're supposed to be looking out for our economic interests. I'm going to end that tirade with, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.